But you won't be able to hear the intro music, but I'm gonna play it. I'll tell you when I
Okay,
start playing it, and then I'll do the introductions, and then we go from there. So it's
great.
all a very live thing. We don't have to worry about doing anything extra.
Cool.
Okay. So I am going to start recording now. Welcome to Xbox Uncut. My name is Jason, and this is episode 192. And today we have a special guest, Ian Dallas from Giant Sparrow. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always great to have a guest. I mean, I really appreciate it. And I love, if from anyone to have from your studio, after playing that game, I want the creative director. So, I'm definitely happy to have you. And also, as always, we've got Dustin, but not really always. But
Not always. But I'm here this week, guys. It's true. It's scary. I might say something.
And Steph. Hello, Steph.
What's up? What's up?
Well, we do have letters today, but we're going to do that later. We're actually going to get into talking to Mr. Dallas for a little while.
I'm sorry. Just to throw it out there real quick, Jay, you need to change from your main picture.
Yeah. I'm so terrible at podcasting. There we go.
Yep.
Now we have picture. For everyone live, now you know I messed up. But for all you guys listening to audio, well, I still messed up because now you can hear it. But I want to start off by saying great game, man. It really is a fantastic game. Yeah, I had a lot of... honestly, I thought it took me 4 hours to play that game. I didn't find out till... Because I played it straight through. I didn't put it down.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, I know, my brother, we talked about it, Dustin's my brother.
I think it's wrong to call it a game. I don't think it's a game. It is the closest thing to, like, a video game has ever, to me, like, to reading a book. Like, it was, like, super immersive, but, like, you had visuals. It was really weird. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I loved the game. It was amazing, but... It's not really gamey. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know how to put it. Like it's an experience that I want everybody to have, but it's not. It's hard to explain.
I think experience is as good a description as anything. I mean, like usually when people talk about a game, they mean something that's kind of based around challenge, and our game isn't really about challenge, But it's not, I mean, usually when people say like, oh, that's not a game, they mean, oh, that's not interactive, or oh, that doesn't feel like a game, that feels like a movie. And we tried really hard to make it not feel like a movie.
No, it doesn't feel like a movie at all. It really does feel like a novel, or like, it's way richer than any movie could ever try to be. Like, it's hard to describe. But it's wonderful.
I just want to clarify for listeners. Yeah, that when you say it feels like a book, like you mean that like in a good way. It's not
in a fantastic. I'm sorry. I know it sounds terrible to say it that way, but it's not like you're not reading stuff. Like you're being read to. But it's open. Like it's just weird because you kind of explore like every space in this house. Like you're kind of going in and out of everywhere. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it.
We really don't want to spoil it.
No spoilers?
I really don't want to spoil it, especially since it just came out on Xbox One.
Let's put it this way: once I beat it, I instantly ran tweeted, okay, this is great. Like everybody should play it. Like this is amazing. It's a really good game. But don't expect shooting or anything like that. Like it's not that kind of game. It's like
and normally when you think of games too, you think of repetitive motions too. This game is not repetitive in any way. Like the gameplay changes up so much from time to time. I mean, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of exploring, but a lot of it, you're going into different situations where it changes up so much, like as far as gameplay.
Yeah, and the hope was that, because this is a game that's really about exploring the unknown, that, as a player, you would feel that because, every couple of minutes, at a gameplay mechanic level, what you're doing is changing. And so you're kind of discovering the game in the same way that Edith is, discovering things in the house, and everyone in, these stories are discovering things as well.
I gotta.
I'm gonna spoil because it's my favorite part. I just want to like, when you're the little kid that wants to eat everything, that was wonderful. Yeah. Like I loved that. That was fantastic. Because it takes you
creepy
through a whole
Well,
it could end so much sooner, but it just kept getting better and better and better.
It makes you adopt her. Like you kind of feel bad in the back of your mind for what you're doing, but at the same time, you kind of get into it. Like, it's definitely don't want to spoil the parts of it, but it almost like in the back of your mind, you're like, no, this is bad, but you get so evolved into it. You're kind of like, no, I want to do that. Like I want to go after this. So that
we found when we did, we started doing playtests for the game that's kind of the natural way that players approach games, where they have a tendency to focus on like, oh, well, what do I have to do? And then they just kind of pursue that in the same way that, in Molly Finch's story, like when you're talking about, she has this thing in mind that she wants to do, and then she just keeps doing it no matter what. That's kind of the natural way that players play the game. So we ended up kind of trying to make a game that, where the stories were in that vein. So players kind of looked up and they're like, oh, right, I'm doing that. Like that's kind of what I'm already, kind of the mindset I'm in.
I do want to say that this game is incredibly cluttered. Like you guys, your art department went way overboard on this game. Like every inch of this house is filled with stuff, and it makes it feel really lived in. Like, did you guys have a house in mind when you built like this? Did you have a house that you used as a blueprint for this, or did this all like come out of thin air with the layout and all that?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, certainly from the exterior of the house, we had this idea of what a house might look like if there's this family living there for about 100 years, and people kept adding on, and each generation, is making the house their own. So we started just kind of abstract, like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then we started looking at references online, and there's quite a few houses, actually, that look kind of like the Finch house. I mean, we thought that this was a ridiculous idea, but, over the course of history, there have been a number of people that, decided, like, oh, I just want to keep extending on to my house. And that's, sort of what you get when you do that. The interior of the house wasn't really modeled on any specific house, but, we did look at a lot of references for, what makes a house feel lived in? Like, what are the little touches that help to ground it? Because we have so many of these stories that are really surreal, like really fantastical and imaginative. And we wanted to make sure that we balance that out so it felt like, there was a real world that these things were taking place in.
Yeah. Oh, no, totally. I usually don't like these type of games, but it was totally up my alley. Like, it was, like, this could have happened in a house of, like, psychotic people or non-psychotic, or maybe it was all real, or, it's up to your interpretation, I guess, like, with what happens throughout the story, like, for you to understand what's going on. How do I not? No, I'm not going to spoil that.
We're trying to get the questions out, but we don't want to spoil anything.
Because so basically, like, for people that haven't played the game, like, basically you're writing a book, and you're trying to figure out what happened to each one of your family members after your mother left you a key after she passed away. And you're going into this house, or around the house, in the house, and you're exploring, like, your uncle's history, your grandparents, the whole 9 yards. And like, you'll come up to, like, an object, and it'll, have, oh, this was Christopher from That's probably not one of the names, but like from like this is they lived and died this date, and then you would go into I hate to call it a mini game, but that's I guess that you'd go into a level essentially and explore what happened to them and why they lived their life the way they did. And it's a beautiful way of doing it. Like every level. I think we're kind of forced to spoil some of it to really get into this at all.
I feel the same way too. Like I want to reach out and say a couple things. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will.
Yes,
I will say that like the first person view doesn't limit anything. Like just looking down and seeing like how your character looks or whatever. And they don't really go into the description until later into the game or whatever. But I was kind of like asking the question, as I was looking at the character. But I just thought it was those little small touches like that. That was pretty dope. I really enjoyed the game. Loved it.
I will say,
nicely done with that spoiling.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go.
I was just gonna say I did manage to spoil myself by looking down in the game, and I didn't find out. Like I found out what was going on just a few minutes later, but I looked down at my character and I was like, I don't really want to say it.
Yeah, I didn't look down at the whole game until something was said specifically.
Yeah,
and it freaked me out. Yeah.
You'll figure that out. Play the game yourself, and you'll figure that out on your own. I'm just saying. But it goes into how this game puts details into certain things that it's kind of like going back to the book thing, where a book gives you endless details about something. The game kind of does that too, to where you guys don't really limit. It's not like playing a first-person shooter where it's kind of barren and you look down and you might see your feet or you guys.
Yeah, maybe that's why I keep referencing it, because it's more about like it's like a game built on chapters, and you could just walk up to a chapter and kind of go down that path and learn, and then you back out and you go to the next chapter. Like it's really detailed and makes you think of the characters in different ways. Like to me,
it's kind of funny. When you talk about the game feeling like a book, we are talking to the player a lot, right? Like Edith, the sort of frame story of all this is, you're reading Edith's journal that she left that describes all of this. But even though Edith is talking a lot, there are tons of things that we don't tell the player that, like when you look down, for example, that, we sort of rely on the player to explore and discover for themselves.
Yeah.
By the way, the voice acting was excellent. Like,
really thank
good. I didn't. It's probably the same on me for not doing any research. But who was actually the woman that did the voice acting?
That's Valerie Rose Lohman. She's an actor in LA, and we were lucky to find her. She's a professional voiceover actor, although a lot of the people that we ended up using in the game are not professionals, which is something that we had a lot of luck with on our previous game, The Unfinished Swan, casting people that weren't professionals. They have this certain tone. Like I think Molly works really well, for example, in this game, where, she sounds like a little kid who's, genuinely excited about, eating, a rabbit or whatever, which is kind of hard to get when you cast professional actors. Usually, like, they sound a little actory. So,
yeah.
We tried to, wherever we could, cast non-professionals, although in Edith's case, we did go with a professional.
Yeah, I didn't, honestly, if you wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't have guessed that, because all the voice acting is pretty great. With, like you said, with Molly and, now, I'm going over my head, but, was it the grandfather with, I don't know, the guy that was in the Marine Corps?
Oh, Sam.
That's how I'm trying not to spoil things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and that's almost, it's hard to go by because there's so many people in their family. Did you guys base the family members off of anything? Like, or was that kind of just, it is kind of chapters in a book with the characters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sort of, some of the characters are loosely based on people we know, but a lot of it is just like it's so random spending 4.5 years on something and making all these little prototypes, and whichever ones happen to work out. Like generally we approach the story from gameplay first, where we would have some moment that we were really interested in exploring, like for example what it feels like to be a child on a swing set, and then we'd kind of tweak that for a long time, trying to make something that felt really good. And then, once that was sort of working, we would figure out like, oh, well, who is this character and what do they want and what the story is. So we tended to base things more on like an experience than on like particular people.
Yeah, because stuff like the baby in the bathtub was so surreal, and like how y'all handled the music, and like, not to keep saying, I don't want to spoil it, like just like how you handled the music to make that like. You felt bad by the end of it, but you also felt like, wow, like that was a great way to handle that subject, like with the divorce and with kind of everything that goes through that. Like just trying to tackle that issue in a game is bizarre to me.
Yeah,
especially from that perspective. Like,
yeah, that was a very strange story. I mean, we worked on it for a long time, and it just didn't work. I mean, we had faith that there was something interesting that felt appropriate to the world we'd made, but in terms of like what it actually felt like to play, it was really clunky and sort of heavy-handed and overly sad for a long, long time. And then, this gameplay programmer Evan just spent a couple weeks really tuning things, and it was actually his idea to put in that music, which he threw in originally as just a temp. There should be something like this, and then we're all like, oh, that's perfect, we totally have to ship that. And yeah, like a few really key touches, like deciding what that music should be, made that story really come together.
But what I really found, because I mean, I'll go ahead and spoil this, like everybody essentially is dead except for Edith Finch. Like,
yeah, that's not a spoiler. That's
yeah, like everybody's dead, and you're learning why they died, and it's depressing. But there's always like an uplifting message by the end. Like it's, I ran outside. We're good. You know what? I just need to live one more day. Even not a year, not a month. If I just have one more day, then bam, something else happens. It's like, wow, okay, that was depressing, but that's okay. That works. I mean, it's
sure that everybody in their stories, does get what they want. Like each story is in some way a success, but just not necessarily like in the way they might have expected.
Yeah, well, I never felt like, because Jason, I know, said he was a little depressed by the end of the game. Like it was.
Oh yeah, I kind of felt the game. Well, it didn't. It depressed in a good way. Like kind of.
Well, no, I mean, it's just a story that moves you. Like that's fine. Like
it's kind of like watching that Robin Williams movie about when he dies and goes to heaven and has to go and
what
find
dreams
his wife.
may come.
Yeah, what dreams may come. It's the premise is really depressing, but it does it in a really uplifting way, a lot like this game does. And I think that's great company, by the way. I think that's a fantastic movie. So the fact that you guys could draw that kind of emotion is fantastic.
Yeah, it's been interesting to hear people like on Twitter talk about the game, because some people do experience it as like, oh man, that was really a depressing thing, and then other people are like, oh, that was so joyful. That it's there's a lot of room for interpretation and whatever you kind of bring from your own life to it.
Steph, what did you have anything else?
Steph,
not really.
What's your favorite
loved it.
Steph?
My favorite part? Lewis is probably my favorite part.
Okay. So Steph cheated. He just finished it like an hour ago.
It's fresh.
It's fresh in his mind.
I'll just go ahead and
thought
say
it was like,
and,
I thought it was a good length, honestly, for a game like that. I mean, I'm definitely going back to play through more because I know I missed stuff. Like I was playing real casually, and it felt y'all did a fantastic job by like leading the players to where they needed to go every time.
Oh,
like
it
was just very creatively done. Where I started noticing it by the end where it's like, I know there's going to be a pathway that I'm not going to be able to see. It's going to be right to my right. That way, when I get over here and I turn around, I'm like, that's the way I need to go. But it's really well done where you're just like, oh, that's I need to head up these stairs. Like this is the progression I'm supposed to take.
I know exactly the stairs you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's I really love. I mean, how does I'm going to put this correctly? How much work did that take to like really just? Did you just have people like walking through, like turning around, going, okay, this is how often does that break? Like, because I can't imagine that's very easy to perform.
No. I mean, it does take a long time, but in a game like this, you know, what we call pathing, like those issues where players like understanding where you want to go and people not backtracking or getting confused. You know, it's one of those things that we know is hard, but actually, if you do enough play tests and you watch enough people play through the game, like it kind of automatically gets better over time. So we did a lot of work on it, but it was one of the less stressful things because, you know, it's kind of something you could brute force. Like we just watched, you know, hundreds of people by the end of this, you know, like play through the game and then, you know, tune like, oh, okay, that person got stuck or that person missed that. And so a lot of it is just like moving things around, changing the lighting. In this game, you know, because we had text that was actually three-dimensional in the world, you know, sometimes when people really didn't understand, you know, we would throw up.
I know the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a little bit heavy-handed. I feel bad about it, you know, in the places where we'd like, you know, grab the camera. But
just some orange text in a dark alley. Like, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
That's my path.
Sometimes you get to the end of the project and you just have, you know, so many bugs to fix, but you also really want this to work better. And so, you know, there are a few places where we had to use a slightly heavy-handed approach. But, you know, hopefully all in all, you know, players don't really notice it and it feels like, oh, I just magically found, you know, my way through here.
Because I know when I finished, the first thing I thought was, I only popped like 2 achievements. I popped like the beginning of the game and then the end.
You got 2?
Yeah, I got 2 achievements playing. Well, my first time through, like that's all I hit. And I was sitting, I was like, oh, let me go check my achievement list. And I was like, wow, I missed a lot of shit this game. And then Jason started we were walking around the store and he started talking to me about it. And I was like, I did not experience that death or that scene. Like, I never saw that in my game. So I am definitely going through and playing through this again. And maybe trying to break it a little bit just so I can see everything.
I'm
yeah,
just
it's
gonna
definitely possible to miss some of the stories too.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. To be honest, I really want to play through it again just for that. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it from now on. We don't usually do this, but I'm just gonna go spoiler. Because I kind of feel like there's people that are going to play this game and they really want to hear other people talk about the game afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you're listening live and you haven't played this yet, I'm just something you'll never hear me say again. Go ahead, turn this off. Go play the game. But yeah, I really just kind of want to get into this game and kind of the stuff that was
give us
more into
3
detail.
minutes.
Yeah, just give us a little bit.
3 minutes.
But
we won't be spoiler free.
I gotta ask about Milton.
Sure.
What happened to Milton? Like it kind of I don't want to.
Can we experience his story, or is it just like something that we're not able to get into? Is it something?
Yeah. So you know, as Xbox players, you may not be aware of this, but our previous game was a PlayStation only game called The Unfinished Swan. And Milton is...
I knew it!
Yeah, he's a character in that game.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of what's going on there is like referencing that other game.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the flip book that you go through that describes Milton, you know, kind of painting his way into this totally other world is, you know, essentially what begins The Unfinished Swan. So it might be a little confusing if you hadn't seen that game at all.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Played that game. You know, it didn't really make much sense at first, but when you started saying that PlayStation, I was like, yeah, that's exactly, yep, makes perfect sense.
I really love talking about the flip book. I really love the difference, and it's not something that is usually done because these developers, they usually hit an art style and they go with what works. And you guys you did the '70s like slasher, like comic book vibe, and then you did the flip book, and then you did like
I was a shark, damn it! I was
the
a shark
thing with the more realistic.
And Jason got stuck on a tree. And
I got stuck on a tree and I didn't know what to do.
Oh yeah, that happens sometimes. It can get a little fiddly.
Then I figured out hitting the left trigger makes them flip the other way a little bit, so I got out.
I'll be honest. What hit me in the game where I got stuck for. So I'm sitting there swinging on the swing, and I'm not realizing I need to use both analog sticks.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, nope, something's off. What am I doing? And I started getting a little height, but nothing really. And then it just occurred to me like that. Oh, I got to use both. Okay. But that was
both legs don't move. That I peeped that as soon as I started doing it. Yeah, I still swing sometimes.
You're special, Steph. I didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Some people, get it right away, and other people, it definitely takes a little while longer. But that moment of, oh, I see. Like this is how I control it.
Clarity. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a nice moment that we didn't want to take that away from players. So that was a scene where we ended up tuning the controls, like in the physics and the forces, quite a lot. Because initially you could get pretty high with just one leg, and we'd see players who would be there for like 5 minutes, just doing the same thing over and over, thinking like, oh, maybe if I do a little bit more. Which is, a tricky thing when you're throwing people into a scene, that like they've never seen in this game before, they've also never seen in any other game before, and there's no on-screen meters or anything to tell you, like, if you're doing well. So, yeah, in that case, we just tried to tune the forces so that after a little while, people would realize, okay, this isn't enough, I need to do more.
I am glad that you guys didn't make the game challenging or frustrating in any way, because I could see how certain developers would go, okay, the part where you're cutting fists, if you do it a little too hard, you're going to cut your finger and you got to start over.
I tried to actually cut my fingers, though, to be honest, several times.
Well, you used to be able to, actually. In the original version, you could cut your finger off. There were like bad fish that would come, and you would need to like not chop those fish. There was a boss who would, yell at you if you weren't doing things the right way. And in that story, because it seemed like when we were designing it in the beginning, we would need things like that to keep it interesting. But what we found is that, because in Lewis's story, you're not only chopping fish, you're also, playing this whole other game. And you've got this kind of question in your mind about what's going on and, where is this all going to go, that we ended up not needing that much. And players were quite happy to just, kind of focus on what was available without, the additional challenges that we could have added.
Yeah, I will also say about Lewis's story, which is why it's my favorite, as I was playing the part and the story was like speaking to me, I was literally doing both of those things at the same time. Exactly how he felt. Like I was getting so used to chopping the fish, and then I'm losing myself in the part of the story that I'm chopping the fish and throwing them, and I don't realize I'm doing it anymore. I'm just playing. I'm walking through, not hitting any walls. It was weird. It was really cool how it all worked out. Like it was dope.
Yeah, I mean, we tended to write the story actually like after a lot of the gameplay was already done. So I think what you're describing is like exactly what we hoped would happen, where we'd, make this prototype and we'd see a bunch of people play it and we'd say like, oh, like, how does this feel to play? And then we'd kind of write a story that had those same feelings. So it felt like the story isn't telling you, this totally different thing that's going on, which I think often happens in a game, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're playing an RPG or something, it's like you're kind of doing this action, but there's a trumped up, reason for why you're doing it. In this game,
you need to go and get kill 5 boars, and it's the most epic music.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it's hard, if you have a game that's about killing boars, like that's your job as a game designer to like reskin that and make it feel like, it's this dramatic moment when, we all know
we've all been there.
Dramatic.
Level 1.
Yeah.
There's 5 boars at the end of the field. It's a fetch quest.
But luckily,
this game never does it, which is wonderful.
Yeah. This game also is not, 300 hours long.
No.
Warcraft.
But I felt accomplished by the end of this game. I felt like I experienced something. Like it wasn't just I just dropped another 10 hours in this game. Like it was like, wow, this is, I actually got something out of it. Honestly. Yeah.
Well, it didn't feel like forcing yourself to get progress done. Like, as much as I love Forza Horizon 3, at some point, it just got to a point where I'm like, I'm just trying to get these races done just to have the progress complete. But you don't feel that with this game. You're kind of just like, I'm involved in this now, and I want to see where this goes. And I want to say, the part where you're... I wish I could remember all the family names, but the part where you're in the... It would be kind of like a bomb shelter.
Walter.
With Walter, you guys turned the vibration on the controller to like 150% because my Elite controller nearly rumbled apart.
There are differences definitely between the PlayStation Rumble and the Xbox Rumble. So I don't remember quite where we ended up. Xbox players might have gotten like a little stronger rumble there.
My controller sounded like
the rumble triggers.
I don't know.
Everything going off. Yeah.
Yeah, we have this thing in the game where when we were developing it, where just to test it, every night we do what's called a soak test, where the game would like warp from story to story, and it would stay like for a minute in the story, and then it'd warp to the next one, just to make sure that like things weren't crashing. And so for Walter's story, it would warp there, and then the controller would start vibrating. And because I'd often be in the office, late at night, it would be like 1 a.m. on a Saturday, and I'd just be like by myself, and then suddenly I'd hear this like every time, and it was just like, oh, it's the programmer's soak test running with this controller.
That's pretty awesome.
Like a ghost of Walter.
Speaking of which, I know we could talk like. I don't want to spoil too much of this game, even if we said spoiler time. I will ask one thing. Do you guys, now, saying I do have to go back and play it, I'm sorry I missed things. Are you guys planning on making a sequel to this?
No. I don't think that there's going to be like any official
extended
sequel.
family tree.
Yeah, I mean, we've joked about doing a DLC for the Finch pets. To see
oh, that'd be very interesting.
Well, honestly, I kind of wanted to see more about the house in that. Spoiler.
I want to see more about the original house. That's what I was kind of.
Yeah, exactly. What we're telling you, Ian, is that we want the pet story in the old house.
Yeah. No, I would love to see that. Like the story of a cow, or some other like an old world pet.
We played a cat, and that was awesome. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, it was a monster. That's all I know. And I felt great.
How did you guys feel about that tentacle thing? How many times did you guys go through redoing that? Was that something that you had a hard time hitting with? Because it almost felt like it felt good, but it did take a second to go, like, okay. And then you figured out, okay, pull the right trigger, and it pulls me along. Like, was that something, like, you guys really wanted to do to begin with? Because I noticed just after finishing it, I noticed in a room there's a picture of the fishing boat, and then it goes down, and you see the sarks, and it goes down further. So...
So in that case, we started with something kind of similar, I guess, to Lewis's story. Like our original version of the tentacle was much more complicated. You could actually go on the ceiling, like you could crawl up the walls, and yeah, it's kind of like I don't know if you know, like Alien versus Predator, like being an alien, in that game. And it was originally on a fishing boat, and you were like, tracking these fishermen all over the place. You like one of them I remember was in a shower, and you could like crawl in through the. It's really, it's fun. But it's really hard. The camera controls, when you let players go on the walls and the ceiling, it's really easy to get motion sick. and for the camera to kind of spaz out and not know which way to go. And, because this wasn't an entire game that we were making for just this, it started to feel like, well, maybe these are problems that we don't really want to solve. Maybe like spending a month working on this one tiny piece of the game isn't, the best use of our time. So we ended up, I think this was right before E3, like when we were showing the game for the first time and we were having a lot of trouble with this. We're like, well, okay, for now, why don't we just try putting the tentacle on the ground? And we'll just you can only be on the ground. And it turned out that even that was plenty for people. Like you're talking about, just discovering that, oh, right, the trigger.
Well, not talking the whole time really, gets you into it. Even though it's not the most complex controls. You're just kind of mashing right trigger as you move along and eat people. But it's her description of what's going on and just doing it is really, really good. Especially when you get off the boat and go back towards her room. It's super well done. How it loops into itself, the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think something like that is a little hard as a game designer to look at, the way that what you're playing. When you're playing a tentacle, the player isn't just doing that. It's oh, you came from somewhere else. You're still wondering, how is that shark sequence and what's coming up next? And there's a lot going on in your head that is part of what makes the experience compelling. Hearing Molly talk and hearing music in the background and the movement of the ship and all these things, make it more interesting than it was when we were looking at it initially. And it was just a designer version, just really, really ugly, boring, gray, rough ship where it seemed you'll have to go on the walls or ceiling for this to be interesting. And it ended up being pretty satisfying because you're not doing it for that long, right? It's just
what does that take? A minute to get through? It's not. Maybe probably about 2-3 minutes to get through that whole sequence. Just for as a tentacle, it's not. It's not weird or anything.
The cat about as long, or so with the jumping.
No,
around.
I think the cat, a lot long. Well, it felt like it's a lot longer.
Cat was longer.
Yeah,
more. It was fun too. That's the best part, gameplay wise. I thought being a cat. I don't know. I felt good being a cat, climbing up that tree.
I guess we could go ahead and say our favorite parts of my favorite part. My favorite part is honestly the baby sequence. I really loved the toys going around with the music. I thought that was fantastic. Especially, there was kind of a bit of a puzzle to it also, with having to, and it pointed you, and I noticed the game it hints at you quite a bit. We were talking earlier about getting people to go down the right path. It hints to you, C. mentions how the guy that built the house went out of his way to make secret passages, and then you eventually you find that, and then now you're in your head, you're looking for these when you're going room to room instead of just looking around going, oh, I have nowhere to go. I also love, I know we're going on tangents off and on in different places, but I also love how every room is just so different. It really, they said with the Mother House, he sailed each room, but it really feels great how each room feels not even just its own era, but just it has the personality of the person that, is set in it. It doesn't follow any of the rules of the house, I guess you could say.
We definitely wanted each character to feel distinctive so that, hopefully you have a chance at remembering who they were. And also to, kind of help prime players for the stories, just to, kind of set the tone before they jump into this, totally new universe.
But yeah, Molly's, without a doubt, was my favorite part. That was great. The whole thing. I enjoyed it. Steph, you already said your favorite part, didn't you? Or
it was Lewis, but also hearing the connection with the unfinished swan, I like that part too. That was really cool because the whole time I'm waiting for him to go into the paint, and I'm I know he gonna do it. I know, and then you confirm that it's theory confirmed. So yeah, it was dope. I got another question. If we're gonna move on from this person,
Sure.
Is there any deaths that were too gruesome or too crazy that y'all just took out? Or something like that. Anything too bad?
I mean, Gregory's was close, in the bathtub. There's the time where our publisher was asking us to consider taking that out because it just didn't feel right. Like, it felt too depressing. That was before we had the music and, before a lot of things were tuned. So, yeah, I would say that one was the closest where it actually, our publisher was concerned about people reacting negatively to that story.
It's kind of like John Wick with the beating of the puppy. I'm just saying.
You can only do it once.
You can only do it once. You can only drown a baby once, Ian.
Yeah. As a man who bathes a baby a lot.
Also, in the original version of Molly's story, we had Molly eat her goldfish.
Yeah.
And we found that players just weren't ready for that. That was like, no.
She was the child.
I don't want
she ate the goldfish.
In the original version, in the version that we shipped, she does not eat the goldfish, and I think that's the right move. I mean, I think it's good for her to have this progression where she starts eating kind of normal things, and then it gets weirder.
It fits more with her character too, because she's still the girl then, so it doesn't make you get the toothpaste, you get the berries, but it kind of doesn't make sense for her to eat her own pet.
Yeah, no, it was way too much too soon.
Yeah. Like, once you turn into a bird...
But after the shark bit, I'm pretty good. Goldfish, whatever.
Yeah, once you turn into a shark, it's like, license plate, bumper. I don't want to move on from the game. Well,
we're going to ask simple questions like we always ask. So, Genesis or SNES, good sir?
Genesis. Genesis, unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a little embarrassed. But for some reason, I don't know if it was Altered Beast or what, but I went Genesis.
Well, at least you were part of the console war. I'll give you that. I don't know when though. SNES for life.
How about pineapples on pizza?
Pineapples on pizza is awful, and you should feel bad.
That's. I think pineapple on pizza was a good choice when I was at the age of buying Genesises. I don't know that I would make that choice now. I think it's fine. I think anchovies on pizza also, thumbs up. I know a lot of people disagree on that, but I'll take pineapple on pizza.
So you guys had 2 games now, and what does it feel like to be an indie nowadays? I know the market's changed quite a bit. Like, the platforms it's mainly been Microsoft and Sony for a little while now. But how's it being an indie right now? How's the market treating you guys?
It's a little scary in some ways. But I think for the kind of games that we make, it's always been a bit scary because, this is a game that we started off when we were 3 people, but eventually there were 15 of us. And, that's like several $1 million to make something like that. And it's hard to find publishers that are interested in putting up, a couple $1 million to make something that doesn't fit into any particular genre. So, it's always like a little bit tricky, but, we've been really fortunate. And, for our first game, Sony, funded the game. And then for this next game, the game that we just finished, Annapurna, which was a film studio that is now doing video games, is now interested in making those kind of games. So hopefully in the future, Annapurna or Sony or someone else will be there to want to make these kind of larger indie games. I think it's a great time if you can make a game, with 1 or 2 people, put it on Steam or the App Store or something. For these kind of bigger games, like that game company size projects, it's a little tricky, but I mean, it's great that it's so much easier to make games. It's just a little more difficult to market them because there's so many games out there.
I know it's got to be killer with stuff like Steam. I know Sony and Microsoft, it's bad enough with the stores, the amount of variety you have to fight against, but Steam is just on another level with the amount of stuff they push through.
Just even 5 years ago, it was relatively easy. There were maybe 10 games that would come out, a week, and now something like 20 or 30 a day.
I think Jim Sterling was showing that 40% of every game on Steam was released in the last 2 years, something like that.
Yeah,
just absolutely massive amount of games are released. But yeah, I think you guys are unique enough though that it works. Like you guys, it's not it's you guys aren't making
you're gonna have a big following after.
Yeah.
Like these are really good games. Like
Yeah.
Like you said, it might not fit in a genre, and that's why it's hard to label. Like I don't like to call it a game because I don't like people thinking it's going to be some kind of it's not even like a Telltale game. It's nothing like it's its own experience. Like you actually.
I guess
I don't know. You get more out of it if you ask me.
I guess what I really want to ask is, if everything falls back, will you be making a zombie survival game?
Yeah, if everything goes bad.
Yeah. I actually really liked zombies, like growing up. I was super into them way before it was a thing. Like in college, I was really into Night of the Living Dead and watched it over and over again. But I don't know, I'm kind of burned out on zombies now in video games. But never say never.
Yeah. The Finches are all zombies. That's going to be the DLC.
Right, that'll be the sequel.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Finches? No.
Yeah, why not? Learn their silly antics. All right. I think that's kind of it for this. I don't really have any more questions unless anybody else does.
Well, I didn't want to bother you too much. We just I hate to inconvenience people. We're that kind
I got one. I got one question. That's okay.
No, please go.
All right, you kind of answered one that I was going to ask about, the companies backing you and stuff. I have a question that it pertains to, like, say you did get a huge back end or whatever to make like a bigger, more AAA kind of game, not an indie game. How much different kind of game would you think you guys would make? Would it be more story based like this, or would you guys be interested in doing something, like really gameplay heavy?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I think I really like having a smaller budget and having, like a smaller team making these things. Like we used to be in the Sony studios, like in the Santa Monica office, and we were right next to the God of War team. And it's like, 100 to 200 people, depending on where they are in their production. And that actually just seems like a lot of work, like managing 200 people to make stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably would never want to do a game like that just because of, like, you end up spending all of your time managing people and not, like, I really like just making little prototypes, and, like, experimenting and noodling on things for a long time. But if we did, like, if we were going to make a game with, 200 people or whatever, yeah, I don't know what that would be like. I think it would probably just be more ridiculous. Like, things would just be, like, tuned up to if they're at 11 now, they would be at 21 or something. Yeah, I don't know what it would be like, but probably just like not that much bigger necessarily in terms of length. I think the size. Like I really like being able to sit down and play a game from start to finish in one sitting. Like I think a lot of AAA games, you tend to, it has to be like 20 hours long. So I would love to see what like a AAA, like 200 people working on something, but it's only 90 minutes long. Like how crazy and insane.
Yes, I agree.
I could tell you what that is. That game is called Any Telltale Game. The engine runs like shit, and then like you get about the same experience. Because like you said, it's about managing people.
Right.
Because I can imagine their studio has to be a couple hundred people for the amount of content they're pushing out.
It's got to be more than a couple hundred people. I would say. But
I mean, I actually used to work at Telltale.
I love Telltale games, though. By the way.
Quite a while ago, but yeah, pretty small teams. Because
small teams. A bunch of small teams,
relatively small. Because they've got such a good pipeline. They reuse a lot of their technology. So right. It's just like the new content is relatively affordable.
Because right now I'd like, I don't know, like kind of the Telltale thing has dried up. But if I could get more experiences like this, like your game, that's what I want.
Yeah. I like the way you describe what you would do, though. That right there is something that I would love to play. I think that's what we're missing right now. And one more last question before you go is, what are you playing right now? What are you playing?
Oh, I just finished Metal Gear Solid 5, and yeah, I mean, I didn't actually finish it. Sorry, I stopped. I stopped playing Metal Gear Solid 5. Yeah, it was about like halfway through, and yeah, I'm not really sure. I've been thinking of actually playing Gone Home because I avoided it for so long because it was so similar in some ways to this game, and they have a new game, Tacoma, that's coming out for Xbox pretty soon. So I was thinking of probably starting that, and then yeah, maybe Horizon Zero Dawn. I've heard good things about that as well.
I've heard good things. Yeah,
and then eventually Zelda. You know, that's the game that, like, once everything is done and I feel, you know, like I've got a good solid week where I don't have to leave the house to do anything, I'm just gonna like play Zelda for a week.
You'll need more than a week, but game's overrated. Just fuck stuff.
Don't you say that.
It is. It's overrated. But we'll talk about it later.
I do have one request for the game, though.
Yeah.
As I played it. What do you think of HDR?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to do more, like the 4K and HDR support kind of stuff.
I was going to ask you about Xbox One X.
Yeah, no, we didn't get development kits, so we have not done anything at all. So I don't know that we'll be doing anything. We did have a PS4 Pro, and we did like some, you know, small adjustments for that, but yeah, that was a little, unfortunately, came a bit too late to do very much.
But as a smaller studio, are you excited for this new way of doing games, if you will? Like, well, not games, but hardware. Like,
oh, yeah, I mean, I think I'm excited.
With the half steps.
Right, like this sort of mid-gen. I'm excited about it when there's no work on our part. You know?
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, players don't necessarily understand what the bottlenecks are. Like, I think everybody talks about frame rate or, you know, resolution or stuff like that. Like, for our game, actually, the time it takes to load all of this from the hard drive is the thing that's really painful on consoles. Like, for PlayStation and for Xbox, the hard drives are just really slow, you know? So we're streaming all the stuff, you know, for all the lighting and, you know, the audio and everything that's coming. And so that's where, you know, sometimes when the frame rate dips, it's because the hard drive, you know, is just chugging. So I'm really excited that all of these mid-gen consoles have much better hard drives. So our game, you know, will look like, you know, a lot better, even though, you know, it doesn't take any more work from our part. It's just, you know, for free, essentially, the game gets better.
Yeah, it's definitely nice that they're focusing on, like, better RAM, faster RAM, better hard drives. And I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure they use SATA too, but either way, it's a faster hard drive, so that's better than no matter what. And I'm glad that, I know Sony does the boost mode thing, and Microsoft's doing the thing where they test it themselves, and there's not really a boost mode. But I do love it that even game, like, of course we'll admit it, the game does have performance issues just here and there on Xbox. More at the beginning with what remains, but it's not anything that takes you out of the experience, and it kind of goes away after the first 10 minutes or so. It's really not that bad. But with, you know, Xbox One X, you won't really have to do anything. You'll just, you know, likely just
it'll be a faster hard drive. Yeah.
Yeah, so it won't be a big deal. So, yeah, even then, even right now, I think it looks great and it plays great, so I don't have much of a problem with it. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on, man. I didn't want to take.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope we ask good questions.
Yeah. All good. Brother. Cool. Thanks. Yeah. Good luck with the rest of the show.
Well, thank you, man. You have a very nice day.
Thank you.
Okay. You too. Bye.
Bye. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. We didn't really get any questions beforehand. I tried to ask for questions in the chat room, but Moss, all he did was say that his wife left him like one of the stories in the game, and then it was depressing, but there was never a joyful moment.
I get a lot of joy out of that game. I don't know if that makes me a bad person, but I really did. Like, I didn't come out of that game upset at all. Like, I was happy.
You didn't have like a little, you know, like a little in your stomach every time you know, somebody.
No, because I'd like the uplifting messages that were tied in with the.
What about? Are we still in spoiler mode? Or we?
Not really. We're way beyond spoil. I gave that 3 minutes, and that shit dried up a long time ago.
So, what about the hunting accident? That shit didn't get you.
I kind of laughed just because of how it was pictured. It was funny to me.
Evil.
I know.
Evil. What we got for news this week?
Nothing. We're doing letters.
What are you talking about? We got to talk about the news. There's one big
we
news.
Have to know. We got 2 letters we got to get through first.
We're gonna get through the letters.
Go ahead.
There's only one thing of news really, so that's what we're gonna talk about.
Announced Wolf Among Us 2.
The Wolf Among Us season 2. Goddamn, it's coming, Steph.
I never played the first season, but
you gotta play it. It's fucking great. You'll love it.
It's overrated.
Oh no, it's fantastic. It's like you bathing in fucking amazing sauce. It's delicious. All of it. You gotta play it. Play the Wolf Among Us.
The visualization I'm getting from you.
Both Bazooka XP and Steve Rules both agree. Wolf Among Us, best Telltale game. Period.
All right.
Period.
Better than Batman?
Yep.
I will say about what remains of Edith Finch. We did get a code to play the game a bit early. So
I bought it. I bought it with my own money.
He bought it. But it might have sounded like we're being really, really positive. That's because I'm really positive about the game. I thought it was a great game. So.
Do you know where the Metacritic's sitting at right now?
I have no clue. I really don't care.
I was just wondering. I was going to say something about the critical success, but I was like, I didn't do any fact checking. But yeah.
Let me see. Damn it, Metacritic's website sucks.
Let me get the news for gamers.
91 on Metacritic.
91. See, I should have said that shit. Though they gonna be. I think that any game right now, honestly, that's over a 90 Metacritic, is doing some shit. Like if you go and look at
that, can kind of justify how we feel about that game.
It's a good game.
Let me see.
What letter? You said we had letters. Where are they?
All right. Calm down. We'll get to the letter in a moment. First, we're going to have our sponsor. No, I'm just joking. Okay. Letter. Twos writes in. And someone is messing with the door next to me. And someone's pointing at my dog. Twos writes in. Hey, Uncut crew. Long-time listener Twos here. I've never written in to any show before, so this is a little new to me. Well, thank you for writing in. But I've had something on my mind lately when it comes to Xbox and the direction they are headed. I was thinking about all the different services and games Xbox offers, such as Xbox Live, Mixer, and Minecraft. Excuse me. Where did I leave off? Minecraft. And I started to wonder, would it be even feasible to think that one day we might see a time where Mixer and Xbox Live are on a competing platform? How many people might say I'm crazy, but I think about the overall tone that has shifted within Xbox. They are very open about being multi-console owners and enjoying games on other platforms. Their tone is somewhat of a let's hold hands and play together type of tone, which I'm kind of for, but I'm also against because I believe in competition and fighting back when you're down, which they have done in the midst of it all. They've changed the narrative of Xbox gamers, PlayStation gamers, and what it means. People think that Jim Ryan guy is crazy, which he is somewhat, but honestly liked when he was around. He was kind of a counter to the whole hold hands narrative that has surfaced. He has about PlayStation, and I think he was about PlayStation, excuse me. And I think I kind of admired that. He had that old school mentality, you know? I'm sorry, I'm reading like shit. Anyways, enough of me rambling. I'd like to know what the crew thinks. Do you think we'll eventually see more service go to more platforms? And where does it stop? Are games even on the table? What do you think about the new narrative? Thanks, Uncut crew. Longtime listener, Twos. Thank you for writing in, Twos. Second time I thanked you.
I don't think cross-play destroys competitiveness. If anything, it's going to save indie games by allowing the community, these small communities, to join together to actually live on without dying. That's why Rocket League's doing it between Xbox and Switch. I mean, it's not like every game's going to have it, but it makes sense for Minecraft. It makes sense for Rocket League.
Well, Xbox Live is
works.
technically on Switch because you got to sign into Xbox Live to play Minecraft.
It's not
cross-platform.
Xbox Live, man.
You're
That's just
No, when they update Minecraft coming up to this new version, you will have to sign in using an Xbox Live profile
on your Switch.
to play on your Switch.
It's just an account. It's like on an
No,
iPhone.
but it's still an Xbox account. Like you're
it's
signing
like
into an Xbox account.
It's like on your iPhone when you play Minecraft. You got to sign into your
But
Xbox.
I don't think we're ever going to see, like, you're never going to Sony would never allow Xbox Live on their platform because it's better than the service they offer. So they're definitely not going to allow a competing service that's actually better than theirs. They don't even allow EA access for that reason.
But they never charge for you to sign on to Xbox Live on a PlayStation console to play crossplay.
I would love to see them support Mixer, but I don't think Sony would support Mixer.
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes anywhere else. I'm not.
I could see Nintendo picking it up first.
Yeah, I don't.
Nintendo ain't picking up shit. They ain't even picking up damn fucking mics and shit.
Oh god, that fucking. Got to give Gaff credit for that picture. That was fucking fantastic. Let's see. Yeah. As far as games, I mean, as far as the hold hands narrative, I get it. Everyone wants them to be. To go out there and be like, we're the best, no one's better. But at the same time, I kind of think it gives you the upper hand to be the bigger guy in the room. And being the bigger guy in the room sometimes doesn't mean being the guy that pushes the other guy around. It means being the guy that goes, I don't give a fuck. You can talk all the shit you want. I'm just going to sit over here and be nice to all the people. Yeah, it kind of... I get people want Microsoft to have more of a competitive attitude, and
aggressive attitude, yeah.
That's a good way of saying it. A more aggressive attitude. But at the end of the day, by Sony having the attitude they have just makes them look worse for it. It really does. It makes them look
it's
like
kind of...
assholes.
I mean, they're in a good position, don't get me wrong. We're not saying anything otherwise, but, recently they kind of put their foot up in their own mouth a few times.
I'd say since the PS4 Pro announcement, they've looked really bad. They haven't been able to get.
Everybody's kind of really, Sony? We still like you, but really?
Yeah.
That's where you want to go with this shit? Okay.
Yeah. And and I just realized you wasn't on cam, Dustin. I thought you were talking. I was looking at you.
You're frozen, Dustin. You're frozen. Stop singing that song, damn it.
But yeah, man, I agree, and I think they're a little. I think they've been a little soft. I mean, the thing about it is what people got to realize is Phil kind of has this unsaid rule. It seems like that don't start no shit. With nobody.
There won't be no shit.
Yeah, basically, because he's a class act.
Because Phil, we've seen it. We've seen him toss a jab or two out there.
No, yeah, he's definitely
a clean jab.
Yeah.
Clean dude.
Phil he's hit a jab or two, it's happened, but he only he does it at the the crossplay thing. He threw a jab out there. He was like, "Motherfucker, you say we can't protect children's? Fucking even Nintendo's on board with our shit. Go fuck you, essentially, go fuck yourself."
He gets frustrated sometimes, and then he
just
gotta keep it real.
A good clean jab they throw is when they announced backwards compatibility, and they said you don't have to play for the games you already own. That was a good clean jab. That wasn't they could have been real dicks.
Just be the first person to go. I understand their path. This is our path. Then he just says it in such
sucks.
a nice way. He never says they say. He's like, I understand their path. I see it.
Well, it doesn't help Microsoft in the end. If they were to go out there and make fun of them doing streaming, Microsoft's really into cloud, guys. It doesn't make sense for them to go out. It's like like let's as an example, let's look at Chevrolet making fun of aluminum now that they're working on making their own trucks aluminum.
Aluminium?
Don't talk shit when you're going to be doing the same thing in a year or two.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It makes you look like a dumbass. And I think Phil knows that quite well, and that's why he's not going out of his way to do it. I think it's more important for them to be, like, I completely agree. What people are saying is they want exclusives, they want it to be competitive as far as exclusives, and they want Microsoft to hold that over other people's heads. And that's fine. I mean, they can do that when it happens, but right now...
When you say exclusive, do you mean just on Xbox, not on PC?
I'm talking about
on Xbox and PC.
I'm talking about that game.
Well,
Fucking exclusive.
There's all this problem. I don't get this. People are like, it's on PC, it's not exclusive. You don't have a problem with the Sony games that are on PC.
There's a people, there's a few fans who want them to go to true quote unquote exclusives, not on PC, just on Xbox.
Look, it's an exclusive as long as it's not able to be purchased on a Sony system.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm just saying, like.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying
argument,
it for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With this argument, there's people out there that said that's what they want. So.
And then it was funny watching the media and everyone blow up on Microsoft at E3, and they were like, "Why do they got to say console exclusive?" Because they're just being truthful with people.
Console launch exclusive.
Yeah, they're just being truthful with people.
That wording is kind of like tricky, but whenever I heard
that tricky,
literally,
it's a console exclusive that launches a console exclusive.
It is. When I heard him talk about it, whenever I heard him talk about it, it made sense when I heard it, but whenever I heard him say it and talk about it, and he was like, "What else you want me to call it?"
Well, the interview was fantastic they had where someone questioned him on that, and he was like, "Well, you see, it's a launch console exclusive." It's
launched on our console first, exclusively first here, but then you can get it later elsewhere.
Maybe. He said maybe.
Well, no, yeah, he said it's up to the dev. It's just launching here first. We're not holding them to anything. If they want to launch it wherever they want, they can. But
I will say they need to grab that fucking last night or where the hell that shit called. They need to do what they did with I'm about to say Scalebound. Don't do what they did with Scalebound. Cuphead, yes.
Just dump money into it. Make it yours.
Yeah.
All right. Can I
but
talk
as
about
far as the narrative goes, I'm more happy with the Microsoft or Xbox that exists now than one that existed in the Xbox 360 era. And I would never trade it, ever. I'm just saying. So.
Oh, we got another letter, don't we?
Yes, we have one more letter. Okay. From Mighty Moss. In the chat room.
Yeah, he's here.
Always here. Oh. Gotta love Mighty Moss. And he started his new podcast. To the members of the best video game podcast out there. Well, thank you.
Debatable. Debatable.
I don't know, man. Podcast unlocked.
I prefer the Joe Rogan show.
No, I don't feel like I've done a great job on this week's podcast though, so
we're gonna improve.
Yeah. I want to say thank you for all of your help. Though I am able to pursue a passion of mine, without you it would still be a pipe dream. Thanks for all of your help. Secondly, what makes you guys so good is, with typical podcasts, you may get informed. However, with Xbox Uncut, you get educated. It's a good way of putting it. I want to steal that. That's important, especially in today's climate. You get learnt on this podcast.
You know what? This podcast, you do not get, what is it called? Circumcised. That's right.
What?
Uncut.
Is that really good?
Do not get circumcised here.
We're the sullied, not the unsullied, but the sullied.
That's right. We're the sullied.
All I can think of now is that
Black Worm. Black Worm.
All I can think of is Robin Hood Men in Tights when Mel Brooks is going around and he's got the little guillotine.
Just put your tip in,
and then put your tip in there and snip. Everyone's like, I don't want it anymore. So, as always, keep up the good work and keep breaking things down for the doofs like me. Now, enough with the sappy shit. That's right. I still censor my swear words. Funny story about why. I'll share it with you all sometime. On with my question. With the whole Kingdom Hearts thing, petition thing, he's talking about there's a petition that to get them not to release Kingdom Hearts 3 on Xbox and to make it only PlayStation and whatever exclusive. It made me wonder, what Sony second-party games would I most want on the Xbox? Despite the lovely things I said about Sony here and on Twitter, I do think some of their second-party games are interesting. For instance, I wouldn't mind having Persona series on Xbox. Thoughts?
More games the better. I mean, it's at the end of the day.
You definitely can't. I'm never gonna argue for not having games on the system. Like, I have my preferences. I don't really care that much for JRPGs to a point. I really liked Final Fantasy VII. I played through Final Fantasy 15, but I don't really get into the really niche kind of ones. But yeah, it's I would never argue for less games. What you really have to do is you got to go out there. It's twofold. Microsoft as a platform has to go out there and they got to try to convince these developers that their platform is a good platform to release on. And the customer base also needs to go out there and they need to go on social media and tell these developers they want their game on the system and they'll pay for it.
Right. I honestly don't see what's so different from aside Xbox being like number one. Like, I feel like the platform is just as strong as it always was.
No, there's plenty of people. Like, it really doesn't make sense to skip the Xbox because you're talking about.
We got all the Tales games. We had exclusive Tales game on Xbox 360. We had freaking Infinite Discovery and what else do we have? A few other JRPGs I can't think of right now. That I just don't see why we're missing out on these games. I mean, Kingdom Hearts doesn't surprise me that we were missing out on those.
Well, it's funny, like people on GAF will bring up. Well, if you look at Square Enix's Japan sales on Xbox and PlayStation absolutely dwarfs Xbox. But then you go and look at what they've actually released on both systems. Right. They've released like 50 games on PlayStation and they've released like 5 on Xbox. Well, no shit, it dwarfs it in sales. There's like 10 times the amount of games released on it. But I mean, a lot
JRPGs sell. I mean, there's a market. There's a market here in I was about to say where I live but there's a market here in the United States. I mean, there's some of these games that get saved by being put.
The only reason Dragon Ball still exists is because of the United States.
Yeah,
I will straight up say it. It's true. It's the only reason. Honestly, I think the United States saved anime in general. Like, there's a huge anime Japanese love here for games.
I mean,
just anime. Like, if you look at it, most animes now are being dubbed same day now. Like, a lot of them are.
Half or more of the audience are English speakers.
Because I know Fairy Tail is pretty much caught up completely dub wise.
Fairy Tail's great. You shut up,
Seth. Fairy Tail's fucking fantastic. But if I had to choose a second party like developer from them, it's going to be Insomniac. I love their games. They make fantastic stuff.
You want that Spider-Man? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I wouldn't. Like, Spider-Man wouldn't be the game I'd go for. If I could if I could steal a game from PlayStation to be an Xbox game, it'd probably be like Ratchet and Clank.
You mean new one, the newest one, not those other ones, because there wasn't that. In my opinion, there wasn't.
Yeah, the newest one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But I think like the Xbox could really use a Ratchet and Clank type game, like
platformer.
Yeah,
we got Super Lucky Tales.
We got Super Lucky Tales. It's coming.
Yeah. It's coming. 4K 60. Everybody hyping that shit up now.
Yeah, but I mean that's what a Ratchet game or I don't really.
I'll take that Hellblade. Is that what it's called? Hellblade.
I don't think Spyro really works nowadays anymore. So
I thought it was kind of funny that it's a little bit off topic. Someone posted on the subreddit Verge's top games of 2017, and every single one was basically a JRPG that released on PS4. It was like not even just JRPGs. It was like Hatsune Miku's rhythm game.
You said The Verge's Tops game?
Yeah, it was The Verge's top.
Who the fuck goes to that website?
They were like, There's not a single Xbox game on this list. Yeah, look at the game. There's like Hatsune Miku on there. I mean, fucking really? But, no, like I said, you can't really argue against more games. But I don't know. Well, look at the Kingdom Hearts developer. They're saying, I don't see a market for the collection to be on Xbox. How's there not a market for the collection, but there's a market for Kingdom Hearts 3?
I'd be down for Persona, though. Like, Persona would be cool to get to have come over to the Xbox.
I guess
maybe it will.
What I'm saying
Monster
is,
Hunter's fucking coming to Xbox and Sony and PlayStation, so fucking anything's possible at this point.
And not the Switch.
Yeah. It's not coming to the Switch.
I bought it. Yeah.
Don't complain that there isn't a market when you don't release games to create a market. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, don't get mad that there's not a market for Kingdom Hearts 3 when you haven't released the first games on the system. And no one, you don't have, there's no one on the ecosystem that's played your games before. It'd be like if the first Final Fantasy ever released on Xbox was Final Fantasy 15. You know, it'd just be like, well, no shit, it didn't sell well because no one knows about Final Fantasy really, or no one's bought it on this ecosystem before. You got to go out there and you got to release the games. I think a lot of it has to do with Sony going, and you know, we're not hating on Sony for doing it. They go out there and they get relationship with these developers, and then they go and
they're doing what it
they
takes.
go and get deals. Like you said, they're doing what it takes, and that's perfectly there ain't nothing to be mad at about that. That's business. That's what they got to do. And the key thing is like with Microsoft going out there, you know, that's why Phil went to Japan to get that Monster Hunter. That's exactly why he went out, because that would have been.
Think it was for Monster Hunter?
It was one of them, yeah, most definitely. And that would have been another game where it would have been on Sony, and it's not even on. Is it on Switch?
No, it's not on Switch. That's why I was just.
It would have been another PS4 second party exclusive. Right there, third party exclusive.
So he needs to go back to Japan and go get the rest of the Kingdom Hearts games.
Yep.
You need those.
Yeah,
the developer said something like, I'm not sure if there's like interest in it. And,
But the
like,
thing-
Well, I mean, why the hell you releasing the third one then? Don't even.
There's already been a huge outcry for them to release it, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
they've already had it
Phil
before.
Spencer spoke up on Twitter and said that if you want those games, you need to,
You need to talk to them.
talk to them about. Well, they ain't listening to me. I tweet them once on Twitter. Was that good enough?
I tweet every day about Command and Conquer, Red Alert.
You probably tweeted every day about fucking what was that game? Crimson Skies. You got.
I did. Crimson Skies, Red Alert.
Hey man, I'll pay for some Kane to be
Wolf
back.
Among Us. We got Wolf Among Us. Now we just need to get Red Alert, and we got Crimson Skies too. So
I'm gonna get
2 for 3.
Get you guys to play Breakdown. Y'all need to play Breakdown. That's my game, man.
If we live near each other, you could force us to play these games, but we don't.
I'm gonna have to get y'all to play that shit. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some shit.
I'm gonna get you to play fucking the Wolf Among Us.
I'll play. I'll start it after I play Destiny 2.
We're gonna have to get you to watch Fairy Tail.
Oh, okay, yeah. Can we talk about games now? Thanks for writing in, everybody. Letters
No,
at Xbox
we're not done with the letter.
Letters. Oh.
P.S. My wife is extra moody this week.
Okay.
Don't know if I can watch live. Plus, my horse tranquilizers haven't sipped in from eBay yet.
What?
Okay, just.
Well, you're live. I'm watching. We know you're watching, so.
I will be with you guys though in spirit this week. That is a pretty talkative spirit. Fucking slow ass eBay. Okay, bye, extra meat crew.
Peace.
The extra meat.
Thank you for writing in, Mighty Moss. Appreciate it. Oh, and congratulations on your new podcast.
Yes.
What is the name? By the way, tell us the details on how to plug it, Mighty Moss, so we can plug it on the podcast.
I need to listen to this podcast so I could be like, this is the best podcast I've ever listened to.
Like, you guys are assholes. How the fuck do you not know it? He said they came in. I think he means the horse tranquilizers.
Yeah. That eBayer. It was.
Are you gonna give him a 6 out of 5, like plus?
Yeah, I would. But I don't know. I'd love to see people
Mighty Moss. What are these details?
Do a podcast. It's great. Everybody should do a podcast.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know, podcasting is like,
Yeah, 5 stars on
it's
iTunes.
just stress relief. Like, you just sit there and you just and you say whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's
Tranquilizers.
the name of the podcast.
Tranquilizers? I'm down.
I feel like I'm out of the conversation about that.
Okay, we're gonna move on to what we've been playing, Mighty Moss. By the time that ends, we want details to plug. Damn it!
All right, so I've been playing Destiny 2 beta.
And
Steph,
Fucking
did
traitor.
you play the Destiny 2 beta?
I did not. I just said that. Let's play after this. I need somebody to play.
Well,
with.
maybe it's like 9:30 at night here. You know, I got to think about these things.
9:30 at night for me too.
We'll probably play. We'll probably
Okay.
play.
All right, cool.
But the Destiny 2 beta is good. Like it feels like Destiny, so the gameplay feels good. Like that's not an issue. It never was an issue. Now the what is it called? The story that it's been a little tough for them at Bungie to figure out a story. And it seems better. Like it honestly does. It seems like they fucking realized that nobody wants to fucking sit there and scan something while something talks like a Dinklebot for fucking 30 minutes and you fucking fight off the same goddamn waves over and over and over.
There's no Dinklebot.
There's no. Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil it. You'll learn what happens to the Dinklebot.
No.
Is there a Nolan bot?
The thing is the Nolan bot's fine. Like there is a Nolan bot, but stuff happens. Anyway, it feels like how they're talking and progressing the story, like is more like a Halo game and less like a Destiny game.
Good.
Like they're just going back to their roots, doing like the more Halo approach, where like it's not just Dinklebot going, "This is what we're gonna do." It's like, oh, there's actually fucking 5 characters talking to me, and we're going from this mission to that and doing this and that. It actually felt really good.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a game where you grind and fight the same enemies over and over and over again, so I guarantee you the grindiness will be there eventually. But it seemed much better and not.
That's part of the game, though.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it seems night and day to me, the difference between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. Like, I didn't hate myself playing it. I was like, oh, this is fun. I enjoyed this. Like, I like the story. I mean, I like I said, the shooting's never been an issue with Destiny. It always felt good.
How do you feel about the change of primary, secondary power weapons and all? How do you feel about that?
It's fine. It feels fine.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sitting there upset about it. Like I just.
I played 1,000 plus hours of this game, so.
You're gonna notice stuff a lot more like me. I've put probably about 100 hours into Destiny, and yeah, it was. It's okay. It's not like I don't write home about Destiny.
Oh, we'll talk about it next week after I probably bitch out about this game next week.
You're going to probably be like, man, this is the best version of Destiny I've ever played.
Is that how I sound?
That's how I sound. It's the best version of Destiny ever. That's you if you were white.
I am white.
Not according to your little avatar. You're a black man.
I'm blind, man. I never seen myself. What are you talking?
Are you Clayton Bigsby?
And yes. We've lost all our viewers.
Thank you for the last Xbox Uncut. All right. Moss finally got back. He says it's on Mixer and Twitch under PNTS Network, or you can go to the site and listen to PNTSnetwork.com. We'll start putting on iTunes in August.
Good luck,
the
brother.
show is called Scram Punks. You need to, capitalize.
Say it again. Y'all both said it at the
Scram
same time.
Punks. It's like a breakfast cereal. The podcast, it's like Scram Punks with extra sugar.
And their first podcast is about Destiny 2 beta access, PS4 Pro versus Xbox One S.
I don't hear this. It better be about fucking KFC and gravy.
Attack on Titan Season 2.
You're going to fucking use our help to get your podcast started. You need to at least talk about some chicken.
Yeah, that is true.
It's what we do. It's the one, little thing we need you to do is be like, what's up with the chicken situation where you're at?
You guys got Farm Fresh because they got pretty good chicken.
Yeah, decent chicken. Can't hate on fresh.
Farm Fresh has good chicken, really? Have you ever
gas
had
station food, man?
Have you ever had Farm Fresh fried chicken?
No.
Then don't talk shit. Then don't talk shit. I'm just saying.
Decent fried chicken.
Go to a Farm Fresh and see how long the fucking line is.
I don't
for
think
fried
those
chicken.
exist where I
Around
live.
the corner, sir. It's around the corner. Around the back of the building.
It's not good enough to be where I live at, so I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. It's probably too good. They probably just have like
Well, if all else fails, there should be a Popeyes in your area.
Reminds me of that Family Guy skit where he said that he went to the doctor, but he didn't go. Said the doctor said he was too good.
Well, since he's got a root canal, can't do chicken until next week.
Damn.
Well, that doesn't mean he can't do mashed potatoes. Like
With a straw, gravy.
Oh.
We're about to die over here. All right, are you done, Dustin?
Shit, Steph's like, this motherfucker brought up chicken and mashed potatoes.
Man. I'm in a happy mood, man. Having a good weekend, man.
Some watermelon.
I ain't beat a game in a minute, man.
Anyway, what else have we been playing other than Chicken Eating Simulator 2017? I played Destiny, then I played
Nothing.
what the fuck else did I play? I played some Minecraft, I know that. Been playing it on Switch.
I've kept my dinosaurs alive on Ark. Does that count?
Yeah, it counts. Counts as playing a video game of some sort.
Spend the 5 minutes every other 2 days just to go on there and see if they're dead.
Oh, Geometry Wars Retro Evolved 2.
Cool.
Fucking great game. And Horizon.
You know, if we haven't been playing games, there's nothing wrong with saying if we watch TV show. I watched all of The Preacher, which is pretty good. I'm gonna recommend that. It's very gory. More gory than I thought it would be.
Like, I played What Remains of Edith Finch, but we talked about that shit for like an hour, and I don't want to go back into that. It's a fantastic game. Go play it.
Thanks for cutting me off.
Oh, Super Street Fighter 4 came out, the arcade edition, by the way.
Yes.
It's
$30 to buy it digital from Xbox, so get it on fucking Amazon.
Yeah, I already owned it digitally, so I was able to.
I thought I did, but I guess I didn't.
Can you hear me?
It's the best. Yeah, I hear you, but it's the best version.
Are you just being an asshole?
I'm always an asshole. I mean, I don't know if you realize this. It's been a while since I've been on the podcast, but yeah, I'm an asshole. I should play that song.
We would get a copyright strike about immediately, and this whole part of the podcast would be gone.
Moss says you guys are insane. That's why you're the best chicken eating simulator.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I need a chicken.
You don't hear about gravy and chicken on Podcasts Unlocked.
Hell no, they don't fucking have
class. Why do you keep bringing them up, man? I'll unsub for them alone.
Because they're...
Well, you got to understand, to show you have class, you got to show the other side of the street.
Yeah,
the other side of the tracks. And that
we
podcast...
ain't seeing Kumbaya here.
We need a little bit of Kumbaya. Nah,
well, we all enjoyed that game.
Yeah. You been playing anything else, Jason? Dustin?
No, I'm good. I'll wait till Jason starts talking, then I'll
interrupt me. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not really. No, I've been watching YouTube. I've been watching YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I watched
I guess I'll go ahead.
Some YouTube channel called The Proper People, and they go and search through abandoned places. It's pretty good. Just watch it.
I've been watching what is it? Red Letter Media a lot.
Red Letter Media is great. We've been recommending them for so long, and it pisses me off if none of you have gone and watched it.
My favorite part is Rich was starting to talk, and he interrupts Rich, and he's like, "Rich, time has passed. Time has passed."
Hey, Steph, do you want that juicy sack meat?
What?
That juicy.
The juicy sack
I don't
meat.
want nothing. I don't want no meat. Don't offer me no
juicy
meat.
sack meat?
No meat.
Just when you get a chance, look up juicy shack meat on YouTube.
Alright.
Don't look it up on Google or Bing Images, though. I wouldn't recommend that.
I'll put it in YouTube. Alright, so I've been playing. Of course, I played Edith Finch. We already went over that. Good game. I loved it. I really did. Liked it a lot. I'm gonna play it again because I realized there's some stuff not filled in. Mm-hmm. Also, I've been playing PUBG, and they made some updates to the game. I'll say that it's looking like it's gonna come to Xbox a little sooner than what we thought, probably because they're putting the buttons in. You can see the Xbox button just pop up and shit when you're playing the game. But if you got a controller hooked up, I'm not using the controller, of course, but you can see the X and A and all that shit that wasn't in there before, so it might be coming out sooner than we thought. I'm gonna try the controller and see if maybe they changed some stuff, and I'll let you guys know next week. Also, I played some Halo 5. Check out that new update they pushed out. And I feel like there's another. Oh shit! Oh yeah, this is what I played. I finally played Forza Horizon 3. Not to say I didn't play it when it came out. I played it when it came out, but I finally actually played a whole 2-3 hour session. Or god damn, game is beautiful, man.
Yeah, it is.
Jesus. It is a beautiful game.
It's gonna look
really
fucking
fun.
Amazing on Xbox One X, man. I've seen Forza in 4K. It looks fucking absolutely.
Yeah, it looks good. The water in that game is crazy.
It's got the same water from Sea of Thieves. It uses the same.
Yes. And whenever I was driving on the beach, and I looked and I was like, man, you know what? They wasn't bullshit when they said that. I mean, it looks the same. And I played something. I played some more Little Nightmares. I wish Tim was here so I can tell him how much this other indie game is better than that indie game. But and what else did I play? I feel like there's another indie game.
I hate to hurry up, but my headset's about to die.
Oh, you always want to do this. My turn. I think that might be it, bro. It might be it, man. But definitely, I'm gonna check out that Street Fighter. Probably so.
It's worth it.
Yeah,
it runs well.
Had it, of course. I think I got the disc somewhere. I gotta find that shit, man. I moved a year or two ago, and I never unpacked my 360 stuff. So
it's just fucking hilarious that since it's out on Xbox One now, it's gonna be the default Street Fighter people play.
You think so? Really?
Hell yeah.
I mean,
the fifth one is not that great. It's not
gameplay wise is a good game. I got Street Fighter 5 on PC.
I got it on PC too, sir.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we should fight sometime. Have a little Street Fighter 5 tournament.
I don't got no main character. Cody's my main, so I'll probably play Street Fighter 4.
I'm gonna play fucking Ryu because that's the character I know.
Yeah, so he in all of the fucking games. But,
all right. I'm sorry, but my headset.
Okay. All
right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in this week live, and just listen to us after the fact. So please write us at letters@xboxuncut.com. Just like all these other great people did, like Moss. And what was the other gentleman's?
Twos.
Thank you. Thank you so much for writing in. But we'll catch you next week. Hopefully Jason has his mouse over the outro music button. Probably doesn't. He's probably not that talented. He's not ready to go. I don't know if I'm ready to go.
Giant Sparrow, man.
Giant Squirrel!
All right, everyone say bye.
Giant Squirrel?
Extra meat.
Extra meat. Extra meat!
Okay, bye everyone. Alright guys, thanks for coming out and listening to us live. Hope you enjoyed extra meat for Steph. Yes.
Why is it gotta be for me, man?
I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I hope we did a good job. So
Yeah.
Dusty's already gone because he's an asshole. But
Did he leave already?
yeah, I heard him drop out of the Skype call.
Oh man, I had some news I was gonna talk to you about.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and stop streaming. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next Friday.